Hey everyone, this is Renier. Okay, today we're going to have a little bit different lesson. I'm going to focus in the end game today, and the game I chose is a game by Kosul against Fersek. Okay, it's a ground field defense, so let's start with this. D4, C4, knight C3, D5, C takes, and then C5. Of course, this is one of the most popular defenses nowadays. Bishop E3. This is a rare line. The idea is a fast development of the queen side. White wants to continue with queen D2 and later rook B1 or rook C1, so he can advance D5 any moment. Castle, queen D2, queen A5. Okay, nice. The idea of white is that he can meet knight C6 with D5, and after knight E5 he can trade knights and play F4. So queen A5 and then rook B1. Rook B1 is one of the two possible moves. The other alternative is rook C1, but that's a different story. This idea of rook B1 is very interesting. White is threatening rook B5, and apparently there is nothing wrong with black according to theory, but I think that white's play is rather easier, especially because there is not a lot of tactical complications. The game is more positional, and although the game is about equal, there is room for improvisation, I must say. So okay, black went knight D7. Okay, another idea is A6, but you can see now how white can play. First, rook C1. Okay, the rook on B1 was doing nothing anymore, so he wants to play D5, and in order to do this, first he must defend C3. Now on bishop G4, bishop E2, knight D7, D5, and white already is very comfortable here. He's planning to play H3, take the bishop pair, rook C8, bishop G5, attacking E7. Trading the dark square bishops often will leave black without counterplay, so it's not a good idea to play bishop F6 here, and knight F6 can be met with queen F4, for example. So queen D8, H3, bishop takes, and I believe that this position is already better for white. The plan is bishop E2 and F4, taking some more space on the center. Okay, this was played by very strong grandmasters. Popov against Savchenko. It was played this year. So okay, that's the move A6. Black can play, for example, A6, and on rook C1 also play, instead of bishop G4, E6. Okay, this will leave the bishop on C8 for a while. That's the problem, that he cannot develop the bishop. But at the same time, if white plays D5, he can take and play bishop F5. Of course, now I think that white should refrain from playing D5, just go bishop D3 or bishop E2, and probably bishop D3 and castle. Okay, so back to the game. Knight D7, bishop D3, and now B6, castle, and bishop A6. So you can see this is a healthy way for black to develop, freeing the C8 square for the rook and trading the light square bishop, so he has no space problems. So white took on A6. The threat right now is C takes D4, so white must take. Queen takes on A6, and now Kosul plays the first new move of the game, that is D takes on C5. Previously, bishop A6 had been played, and I think that after bishop takes on a6, queen takes, and now rook fc8, black can hold the balance here. His position seems solid, as he has knight f8 in order to defend his king, in case of knight g5 for example. And he's taking now on a2 and also taking on d4, opening the c file, so probably this provides enough counterplay. However, rook fd8, as was played, after bishop takes on g7, king takes on g7, white is a little better. I must say that white's position is really good here after d5. He enjoys space advantage. He wants to play queen c2 and c4, or rook c1 and c4, and if black goes queen c4 attacking e4, queen c2 followed by knight d2 and c4, and black is very passive. That's one of the problems in his position. He has very passive pieces. The knight on d7 must guard e5, otherwise knight e5, knight c6. So I have to advise against this. Okay, but that's one way to investigate. We can say bishop a6, and then if queen takes, rook c8, if white can create some active play here, it would be a very interesting line to play with white. Maybe h4, h5, or d5, sacrificing a2 in order to gain some tempos. So, okay, but let's get back to the game. And the reason why I chose this game was because I think that the endgame that arises here is very interesting. D takes on c5, knight takes first, bishop takes, and b takes on c5. Okay, Kosu played this idea of taking the pawn on c5, and the final idea can be seen here is e5. Now he chose the bishop on g7, and he wants to improve his position from now. He wants to play probably the queen to e4 or the queen to c2 followed by c4, and increase the play on the light squares. Basically put some pressure on c5 by playing c4 and rook b5 later on. But the problem is that he has a very bad pawn structure, and the queen on a6 is really active. The queen on a6 can go to c4. On top of everything, it is black's turn, so he will get the d file in a move with rook fd8 next. So I must say that the strategy fails because of concrete moves that black has at his disposal. I think black is a little better. I rate the activity of the queen very highly in this position, and also the weakness on c3 is an easy target for black. Let's see how the game continued. The game went rook fd8, queen c2, and now black went queen d3. I would prefer a move like rook d3 with the idea of doubling rooks on the d file, and the d file is not that important because the knight on f3 guards the square d2, but the problem is that black wants to play queen c4 too. So, and c4 with the idea of rook b3 allows black to play rook a3 and start hitting the weakness on a2 and c4. For example, on rook b2 he can play rook a4 with enough pressure on white's pawns on c4 and a2. Or, okay, more active is queen e4, but after rook c8 probably black has enough counterplay. He's taking on a2 and there is no easy defense. Perhaps rook b7 here, but after bishop f8 I'm not sure about that position. Or even rook takes on a2, rook takes on e7, and rook a1 might give black good counterplay. I don't know, that position had to be look at it very closely. So black went queen d3 and the game went Now after queen takes on d3, rook takes, to an endgame that is probably level. White still is playing for a win, because Kosul always plays for a win, and if he can improve, he can win the game. He wants to play rook fc1, king f1, king e2, get the rook out of d3, play probably c4, but with good play, of course, black can avoid all of this. So white went rook fc1, and black played a very good move here, that is c4. Okay, I would advise against allowing white to play c4 himself, as he will have the b5 square, and the c5 pawn would be considered weak, easy target by rook b5. Also c4 and rook b3 is another plan. But another move that might be possible is f6, trying to liberate the bishop on g7. Then if rook b7, black can play rook d8, threatening mate, king f1, and now rook d7, defending the second rank. Still, white can try with rook b1, and of course black shouldn't take on e5. King f7, rook takes d7 takes, king e2, and now very important, king e6. Not take on e5, because after knight g5 and knight e4 followed by f3, then black is completely I would say lost, with a very bad bishop on g7. So king e6, and after c4 black has the move f5. It's a strange move, but it works. The idea is to take on e5 with the bishop, something that white cannot avoid now. Rook b5, bishop takes, rook takes e5, and bishop f6 with a completely equal endgame. The plan is king d6, king c6. The game is completely equal right here. Alright, but the move played in the game is very good, c4. Fixing the weakness on c3. It frees the d4 square for the knight, but as long as white must defend e5, he cannot play this move. So king f1, black has a lot of sensitive moves here. For example, rook d5 is one of them, attacking e5, and also thinking about rook a5 and rook a3 perhaps. But g5 is not a bad move. Black is trying to activate his bishop by attacking the knight on f3. Is quite reasonable. h3, of course, is met with h5. Kosul plays rook b5, and okay, defending e5, anticipating the threat of g4. Takes, and now knight d4. Obviously, the trade of pawns is a good thing for black. Okay, it gets the closer to find the complete equality, and so okay. So now black plays rook c8. This is a good idea because activates the rook, and he wants to play rook c7, defending a7 in case of rook a5, and also if the pawn on c3 disappears, the rook is behind the passed pawn. So this is normal play so far from both sides, I must say. Knight f5, and black goes rook c7. Here there was nothing wrong with the move bishop f8, rook a5, and then rook c7, king e2, rook d7. Now black is finding counterplay with rook d2 check, and rook c2 can be met with rook d5, and the e5 pawn is in trouble. So rook a4 is slightly better, but after rook d5, black will win the e5 pawn. e6, trying to create some weaknesses on black's camp, so rook d2, king f1, and then black has, okay, if black allows white to play g3 for example, then he will be worse, because the pawn on c4 and g4 both will fall, and the knight will be better than the bishop, with also thanks to the better pawn structure. But black has g3. This is one of the resources that we must count on. Trading pawns, f takes on g3 and then rook d3, knight c4, rook takes on g3, and after bishop g7 black will have a good position, easily to defend. I think his pieces are all very active, so that was another plan for black. He chose to play rook c7. That is also okay. King e2, and now e6. Probably, okay, on a move like a6, trying to drive away the rook from the open file, white can play rook a5, and then e6, knight e3, bishop a6. It's important to have the knight under control. Okay, black is threatening to take on e3 or to play g3, and all his problems are over. So knight takes on c4, and now rook d5. The rook on c1 is attacked, and also the knight on c4. So the next trade is forced. Rook h1, otherwise on knight e3 black plays d4, so rook h1, bishop f4, knight b6, rook takes on c3, knight takes d5, rook c2, and rook takes on f2 with level play. I mean, still I must say this is the kind of position that you don't want to have with black, because I believe that white has some initiative still. I know it's a little bit probably optimistic, but white has more activity here. The king is closer to the center. He's playing a4, a5, and I think but to win probably not enough. But okay, black is still it's easier to play with white. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So okay, on a6, rook a5 is an interesting try. Black went e6. It's normal, the desire of getting rid of the knight on f5, of course. And okay, now Kosul went for a forced line that will lead to a rook endgame that we will analyze in detail. But now let's have a look at the move knight e3. That is one of the alternatives here. On knight e3, black can play bishop a6, and again knight takes on c4, rook d5, and it's the same idea as before. Rook h1, bishop f4, only that the pawn is not on a6. So this idea is even better for black now. After knight e3 he can take, rook takes on c3, king d4, and now rook c2, with now black completely equalizes. Rook h4, because he trades the minor pieces, that's why. Compared to the other line, rook d2, and now if king c3, rook a2, with a level game. If rook d3, rook takes g2, king takes d5, and then I like rook g4. I think this is the easiest way. And rook a4. Okay, so that is an easy draw line. But he goes rook b8, king a7, and now rook h1. Okay, king g6. I want you to pay close attention here. Now white plays knight takes on g7. Okay, here black missed a very nice move. Black missed the move rook c5. That's you can see the importance of the in-between move when you have such positions. He missed this move that completely solves all of his problems, and immediately white must sign a draw here. Okay, the knight is not going anywhere, and the threat is rook takes on e5 followed by rook d1 mate. So white's only move is rook h5, but this leaves the rook on h5 protected by the knight that is hanging. So black can play rook a5 and white cannot move. White will have to play rook g8, and then after rook takes on a2, king e1, black has a draw with rook a1 and rook a2, or he can take on c3, and it's white who has to make a draw now with knight e8, king takes on h5, knight f6, king a6, knight takes e4, and then a repetition of checks f6 g4. So this is a very instructive moment of the importance of the in-between move. I'm sure probably black recaptured on g7 automatically and didn't think about anything else, because rook c5 with some thinking is rather easy to see. The threat is check and the knight cannot go anywhere, so it's a truly brilliant move here, rook c5. Okay, he took on g7, and then we have this endgame. Black has apparently some problems with the king, and the pawn on g4 will be a target for white. So, but also the rook on d3 is very active, and the pawn on c3 is definitely lost. So what to do here after rook h4? Black chose to play very passive in this endgame. And one thing I tell to my students is that in the rook endgames, the most important thing is to keep active. If you have the active rook, then you should have the advantage, or you should be able to keep the balance of the position. Here, black went king g6. Okay, he shouldn't allow white to take on g4 there with check, because his king would be in trouble because of the pawn on e5. Rook takes g4 and rook back to b1 could be some serious threat. So he goes king g6, hoping for rook takes g4 and king f5, and then king takes on e5. Still, there is nothing wrong with this, but the passive attitude here is not the best way, I think. Correct was, in my opinion, f5, because this put white in some pressure, I must say. For example, if he takes on f6, after king takes on f6, rook takes e4, and rook takes on c3, is white who has to stop the c4 pawn now. Black can play rook a3 or rook c1 and then push the pawn without anything to worry about, as he has the initiative. The material is even. The game should be a draw, but it's white who has to play defense now. If he goes rook e8, trying to trap the king into some mate net, that's unlikely as well. Rook takes e3, rook takes on e6, king e3, and now black has, for example, moves like g3, trading more pawns. F takes on g3, rook takes on g2, the rook is active, and the pawn on c4, that's the most important thing, is ready to advance. Rook to a6, now the rook, he's threatening the rook on c7, so rook takes on g3 check, king f2, and black has rook g4. This ensures that white won't be able to take the rook on c7, so he has to repeat moves right here. Rook h5, and of course black cannot go king f4 because of rook c7, but king g6 and the game is a draw. Okay, so this was one way to make a draw. Or he can also take the a2 pawn, and after rook a6, rook e7, the rook must get closer to the king now, so he can defend it. And after rook a7 check would be a mistake here, because after king f8, white will run out of checks. Rook h8, king f7, and then there won't be any more checks for much longer. So the best would be to play e6, and after c3, rook h7, king f6, rook h6, king g5, the only move, rook h5, and king f6 with a draw. So black had this line here to make a draw. Instead he chose to play passive with king g6, rook takes g4, king f5, and now rook takes c4. This is the problem. Okay, it's not that black is losing because of this, but he's a little bit on the defensive side. g4 check, king takes on e5, rook b5, king f6, and now rook a5. Okay, we have a very simple endgame. How can this be lost? Okay, I'm going to point what mistakes we shouldn't make, and basically the rule is not to stay passive. If you stay passive, you have all the chances to lose the endgame. Now black went rook c7. Nothing wrong again, but perhaps not the best move. I think that rook c2, king e3, and then rook c3 again, king d2, rook c7, probably white cannot improve. The way that the king is too far from the king side doesn't let white improve on his position. So rook c7, king f3, and now e5. Nothing wrong again. I think black is playing correct, but king d3, rook c3, king g2, and rook back to c7. I don't really like this attitude of playing, because black is just staying there and letting white prove that he can win the endgame. Here, in chasing for activity, probably black would have found e4, and then after rook takes on a7, I don't see anything else, as the king is cut, and black says, okay, you can take the c7 pawn. The a7 pawn, I will not defend it anymore, but my rook is not going back to c7. That's it. The king is cut on the second rank, so white has no more moves. Rook takes on a7 is met with king g5, losing up the f7 pawn, but that will lead nowhere. So rook e7, king f4, rook f7, king takes on g4, and then this endgame is an easy draw. Very easy draw. King f1, rook a3, king e2, and then king g5. Black doesn't have to take the pawn, so king g5, king d2, and stay there. Very easy draw here. Perhaps king f1 is not the best, but otherwise rook c2 and e3 is a threat. Okay, so it's a simple endgame. Just with active play he would have managed to hold this. So he went rook c7. Still nothing wrong with this. The game is not lost yet. f3, rook c2 check. Um, yeah, it's alright too, but king g6 with the idea of having this pawn configuration is even easier, because now whatever advance there is, there will be trades. So that's a good thing for black, trading pawns. He went rook c2, king g3, rook c3. He's threatening e4, kind of the idea that I was showing before, but okay, in this case he wants to play e4 with the pin. And it's interesting because on rook takes on a7, e4, king f4, black takes on f3, rook a6 check, king g7, everything is forced, and now white should play king g3. Okay, now the important thing is not to stay tied to the defense of f3. Play f6 so you can advance your king, a4, the rook behind the pawn, a5, king g6. When he tries to improve any further, then f2 check, king takes on f2, and king g5 again with an easy draw. So rook takes on a7 leads to a draw. So Kossuth plays king f2, and black again went rook c7. I don't really understand it. Perhaps rook c2, king e3, rook c3, king e4, rook c4, because there is always king f4 type of rook f4 I mean, and no, but on king d3, rook c7, the king is farther from the king side, and I don't see white improving much. Okay, but rook c7, king e3, king e6, rook a6. I don't really like king a6, and king d5, and now g5. Now there are some ideas that it's important to see how we can learn how we can press with white. Also with g5, white fixes the weakness on f7. So there are some ideas with rook f6 later in the endgame. Rook c3 check, king f2, rook c7. Black keeps the same attitude here. There wasn't much he could do there. Rook e7, king g4, e4, takes on e4, and then king takes on e4. This is correct move, as rook takes on e4 would give white some initiative in the endgame with king f6, rook b7, and then rook a4. With this idea of rook h4 and rook h7, white would be winning. The rook on b7, you can see that cannot move. The moment that you give a check, you lose the f7 pawn. Those are the risks of staying passive. So king takes on e4. Black is holding the endgame, but he's having a hard time doing it. a4, king d5, a5, king c5. Okay, this is a risky strategy here. Rook f6, king b5, a6, and here he made the last mistake. In order to keep this endgame to natural result of a draw here, the best way, the king has no business on the queen side, so king c5 would be the best. After king h5, king d5. And the thing is that king a6 is met with rook e6. Okay, and king g7 is met with rook e5. And again, this is a drawn endgame. Nobody can win here. So after rook e6, there is no more moves. Other moves, king h7 for example, black can play rook e5 to any move rook e5. So rook f1, slightly better, trying to improve with the king, but then rook c7, and the idea is that you can play rook c6. For example, on king a6, you can play rook c6 and rook f6, rook e6, transposing to this position. Transposing to this position here. Rook f1, rook c7, rook b1, trying to play rook b7. So now king d6. Rook b7 you can take, and king c7. So rook b8, now rook c1, rook b7 check, and it's a draw already here. The problem is that white cannot avoid the checks, and if he avoids the checks he loses the g5 pawn. In any case, this was the only way to keep the draw up to this point. Let me see if I'm missing something. Rook f1, rook c7, rook b1, king d6, rook b8, and rook c1. Yes. What else? No, I don't think so. Okay, this looks yeah, looks like black holds. Okay, so he went rook e1. This is the wrong time to activate the rook. Rook takes on f7, rook takes on a6, g6, rook g1 check, king f5, and the problem is that black's pawn is too far away. He went for the wrong endgame, and this will never be a draw. King f6, rook f1, king g7. Black has no time to move the king, he has to move the rook, and now very precise move, rook f5, as it doesn't let the king advance to the fourth rank. Okay, this is the move that wins the game. After king b6, king a6, rook h5, g7, and black cannot stop the pawn. Rook g8, rook c8, king a7, and then g8. The problem is that when the pawn is on a3, white goes rook h3 and wins the pawn. a2, rook a3, and the king cannot get any closer. Okay, so I know it's not a great game, but I thought that the whole middle game, end game battle was kind of interesting, and the end game was very tricky, and I hope I point out those mistakes that we shouldn't make. If any questions, as usual, leave it in the forum and I will be happy to answer them. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for watching these videos, and